Let's take you back once again to the moment that Perseverance, the rover, landed on Mars. Watch.
Surface of Mars, ready to begin seeking the signs of past life. At this point, the descent stage has flown away to a safe distance. Perseverance is continuing to transmit direct through Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter.
Very cool moment.
That's kind of exciting. You know, one of the things that, look at all these people employed to get the rover there. Something that struck me is like shortly after we landed on the moon, something like 40 to 50,000 scientists lost their jobs at NASA. But you know what happened?
What?
They went into the private sector and help make the computer industry. Help make the personal computer industry and the internet and everything else, all the people that had that kind of training and experience.
Interesting.
So you never know how that unfolds. So this kind of endeavor is just all of you.
Yeah, well, this is a 2-year mission, and it is the most extensive mission that NASA has ever, deployed to go to the Red Planet to see if there has been past life. But with those live cameras, they might see current life too, so you have to keep an eye on it. You never know. Hey,
it's true.
The little green guy walking by. Well, back on this Earth, or back on this planet, let's talk about what's been happening. And it was big news last night because former President Trump joined our very own Greg Kelly, reporting right here on Newsmax to discuss his political future. Listen to this, and then our panel is going to come back to respond.
Well, we have tremendous support. I won't say yet, but we have tremendous support. And I'm looking at poll numbers that are through the roof. You saw what happened yesterday. We went up. I'm the only guy who gets impeached, and my numbers go up. You'll see what happens. I mean, a lot of great things are happening. As far as 24, too early to say, but I see a lot of great polls out there. That's for sure.
A lot of great polls out there. Joe, what did you think about what the president had to say?
I thought it was great that Greg had him on. I thought the president sounded rested. He sounds like he's ready to come back out both barrels. And what's interesting to me is a guy who was tweeting 30 and 40 times a day. Sometimes he just live tweet. And you could imagine just whatever's in his mind, he's just going to tweet it out. He hasn't really talked to us one-on-one in a long time. And there are 87 million people who followed him on Twitter, hundreds of millions if you add in Facebook and everything else. I'm looking forward to seeing him getting back out there and taking a big role in 2022 to get the House and the Senate back in Republican hands. And I really, look, he sounded last night, and I listened to it very closely. He sounded like he is not averse to running again in 2024. Honestly, if he had to make a decision today, it sounds like he's ready to. So I found it to be enlightening. I found it to be empowering for those who support the guy, and I'm glad that we're hearing from him again.
Yeah, a lot of folks, Stacey, were making the comment that he sounded very relaxed and rested and sounded like he's ready to go again.
Yeah, so relaxed in a Donald Trump kind of way.
True.
This is the guy, he works all day, he stays up late into the night, he doesn't drink alcohol, and he gets up at the crack of dawn. He eats fast food, he beats coronavirus, and he kills on social media. And so he has been off, that's true. And that for me has been kind of tough because I'm so used to seeing, I followed him on Telegram, so it was all of the tweets, but they just come down without all the nasty negative comments from the liberals. And I miss that because I could keep up with what was going on in the country, very quick glances, because he tweeted a lot of policy and things that were happening at the White House, but he also tweeted his thoughts about things that liberals were doing. And I do miss that a lot. It was great to hear his voice last night and to know that he's okay. I've seen some of the reporters and kind of social media gurus go down to Mar-a-Lago and comment from there and do videos, like Benny Johnson, who's frequently here on Newsmax. He's one of my favorites to watch on Instagram, and he reports about what the president's up to now. But it was just great to have him back in the world, back in the space. And so I hope to see more of him. Maybe he could give us a weekly update. I kind of need it. I hope he watches and he sees this today. Hi, President Trump. Could you give us some updates? Thanks from Stacey.
Yeah, we have some time left too if you want to call in if you are watching. Bobby, what do you think about in terms of the president? Do you think that we will hear the former president more and more from him now that he's kind of like broken the ice?
Yeah, and that's what really stood out to me in Greg Kelly's interview, because Greg kept pushing him and pushing him and pushing him. Hey, let's come back. He kept coming back to, are you going to run again in 2024? And the president never said it. But he talked about wanting to do more on social media, talking to companies. How can he get his message out? He even talked about how Twitter is flat out boring now. because they don't have President Trump around to really stir things up and keep things going.
It is.
You know, you could tell that he wants to be in the arena. And so it's pretty clear that he's going to have a very active role in the 2022 elections, you know, helping stump for congressional candidates and Senate candidates. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But what was really coming out in this one, you know, I agree with Joe. I mean, it's like if he had to announce today, he'd probably be announcing today that he would be running. And that's just being president. What can he do in this interim before he's out there stumping for candidates? That's where I think he's trying to get his footing, you know, to figure out what he wants to do without the Twitter, without, you know, these outlets that he had before. That's what he's focusing on now.
And I was just thinking about that, Bob, because I'm sorry, Joe, you can jump in, but that's also going to impact any of the candidates that he throws his support behind if he doesn't have that forum.
Well, I think they've got to be very careful to make sure they support this America First agenda and really embrace the 74 million who voted for Trump. But one thing that came out last night that I think is so important, maybe more important than anything, he said, if I can't get on one of these, if I can't negotiate being on one of these social media outlets, I'll just make my own. And that's what Trump, we've always known Donald Trump to be that. Oh, the steak isn't good enough, I'll make my own steak. Oh, the wine isn't good enough, I'll make Trump wine. We'll build Trump buildings. And now to build a Trump social media network, that would be massive.
Well, there were
87
the
million
rumors
immediately would show up.
Yeah, there were the rumors that Elon Musk and Don Jr. were going to join forces and start something along those lines.
Yeah, that would be powerful.
Yeah, it would be interesting. He could find something he enjoys doing more than being president. I mean, obviously the most powerful position in the world, but there may be a point, you know, when you leave the job, it's like, wow, I kind of miss that job, but then you start filling your time with other things and other interests and pursuing them, and he may have business endeavors. In other words, I don't know how this unfolds. I don't know that he still wants to be plugged in. Maybe he gets involved with business endeavors that really excite him. Go ahead, Stacey.
No, this reminds me of a story. Years ago, I ran for school board. I'd been appointed to the position. I served for 11 months. And then I ran and I lost in a district where there are 19,400 frequent voters. I lost by 435 votes. So I'm devastated. I'm going to the movies with girlfriends. I'm crying. And so a friend of mine calls and she says, were you happy before you ran? And I said, yes. She said, so you'll be happy again. It's time to stop crying and move on. And then another friend called and said, you were great on school board, but now you could be just as great as a kingmaker outside of that space, outside of that boardroom, doing amazing things. And so for 11 months, I spoke at Tea Party rallies. I went on the radio. I did all this cool junk. And then I got elected to school board afterwards. I was literally off of the board for 1 year. And so President Trump, if you're watching, you have 4 years to do whatever you want and make a huge mark and then come back and step right back into the White House like you never left. That's how it was for me, and it was pretty cool. Only school board, mind you, but still, it's a good story.
Well, look how cool your life is now, Stacey. You're sitting here with us. It's great.
I'm Heather online. I'm like, look at my cute friend Heather and her husband. How cute. I have the best life, seriously.
Yes, I love following you on Twitter, by the way. All right, well, everyone stand by. Panel, don't go far, because we're going to be back in just a moment.